It's another morning, cold morning again. And the thing about the winter time is that the cold, overcasty morning is actually cold. And I prefer the sun. So you'll see me happier during the sunny days. But generally, I'm happy right now. That's totally fine. So hope everybody's doing good this morning. Thank you for joining me on day 61 in Proverbs. And yeah, we're just going to continue on and doing this. Just remember your baselines when we are talking about the Proverbs of which you could go into the description and kind of go over it in the and you can leave comments about it in the comment section. That's totally up to you. But just remember that when you're looking at the baselines, we're trying to find the ideal and how to synthesize that in our lives. I know that we're not perfect and we could do our best in following God and seeking out wisdom and holding your hand and walking our lives with wisdom in our lives. But I understand that we're not perfect. We're humans, and we try our best as we're being sanctified daily and spending time in the Word daily. Hopefully, these little talks are good for you, and you are encouraged and exhorted, or whatever it is that you take. All right, give a takeaway on this one. But let's go ahead and go through day 61 Proverbs, chapter 11, verses 23 to 24 in the ESV. The desire of the righteous ends only in good, the expectation of the wicked in wrath. One gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what he should give and only suffers want. All right, let's go ahead and do that. We're talking about the desire of the righteous and the expectation of the wicked. One who gives freely, and another withholds what he should give. The desire of the witches is only good. In wrath grows richer and only suffers want. Again, the first verse 23, is using a comparison between the righteous and the wicked. And the one thing that they're talking about here is your desire. What is your desire when you are doing things, when you're living life and all that kind of stuff? And if your desire is truly with God and truly following wisdom, going through the baselines, and your desire is to do all that, and your heart is in the place, yeah, it's going to go ahead good because your heart is aligned with the expect with God and what He wants and what He's desiring and what He has in purpose for your mind. Now I know that when I was younger, that I was always wondering what is God's purpose for my life? What does He want me to do? And I don't think he actually reveals clearly what it is that you are to do. Specifically, like I didn't know I wanted to be a teacher. Is that what God wanted me to do? I think there was a choice that I could have did a couple of different paths and everything, and that we have the ability to do different things. And even now, as being an educator for over 20 years, I could see myself doing other things in my life other than education. And so but if you're following God, whatever this is the interesting thing about if your heart is aligned with God, you can make whatever decision for your life that you want. Which is the interesting, crazy thought. Well, can't I go out and just kill somebody? Well, if you are aligned with God, you will be making decisions that is appropriate, righteous, and good. Right? Right. And so that's the interesting thing when you hear that phrasing, like go with what your heart wants. Well, if your heart's aligned with God, obviously you're going to make a good decision. Now, it's just funny. Um, one time I was doing I went to a men's retreat, and we did this every year. how we I'm doing through this. Was it in the spring? I forgot what year. Anyways, it was a good time. It was like 2 nights. The first night is just getting there, introducing each other. Then we have the all day on Saturday just to kind of hang out and do things, and then we have a final day on Sunday. And one of the things about that one of the leaders talked about was the idea that you have more than one possibility of a life mate. Yes, you made your decision, and the woman that you have right now is the right choice, and she is the one that was made for you. But it was said that there are many different choices that could have been made because there's like, you know, how many people out there? 7 billion people. How many people are in the world? How many people are in the world right now? Population. All right, look at that. The population is about seven. I think it's 7 billion, right? I think that's what it is. And 8.3, 8.3 billion. What about when I was a young adult in the early, give me away, 2010s, in the 2010s. Let's see that. The 2010s is when I met my wife. And I think that was kind of the time in that era and in that generation. 7 billion. So it was 7 billion. So it's 7 billion people living at that time. And I could say there's a pretty good chance that there is a group of women that would have been a good match for me. If I roll the dice, there would be a good chance that I would have find a woman that I thought was attractive, who had good character, who moral values are similar to mine, even interests that are similar to mine, and I could grow old and have really good children and all that kind of stuff with. I'm pretty sure there is more than just now. I'm not going to go down that road and kind of who might have been. I go in the past and kind of like there's possibilities in like all over the place, but um, you just have to like as a person of free will, because I do believe in free will, that you just have to make that choice. But if you're always going in your life saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm just trying to find the one," I think there is the one out of a choice of many. And so just go with that. Okay. And so that is on the first part of verse 23. All right, let's go to the next one. Anyways, hopefully that makes it clear. If your heart's following God, make the decisions that you want, because what you want is what God is desire of God. So got to get used to that concept. All right, the expectation of the wicked in wrath, wicked expectation of the wicked in wrath. So the wicked is someone who is deceitful, selfish gains, lies. Comes out of their mouth is not appropriate and discouraging, and they kind of destroy people for the things they do or say and everything like that. And obviously, the end of their expectation is not a good positive expectation in the future. And so that is kind of a thing. And this is the usual theme that they have in that is in Proverbs, just to let you know. It's just what happens. And so you have to be aware of that. Yep. All right. Verse 24, which I had a little hard time thinking about this. So I kind of thought about this before and kind of looked it up and looked at commentaries and and then kind of come to an understanding of the thing. And it's all about generosity. And I know that in this world, it is really hard to live financially. Um, Especially we're talking about North America, United States of America. There is kind of this idea of it's hard to live. Um, gas prices are rising, going to restaurants is difficult because it's so expensive to eat out. Groceries are getting expensive and stuff like that, and it's and rent, buying houses. The expectation of millennials and people. Remember, this is 2025, right? This is 2025, and I'm living in the Bay Area. So there you go. Narrow it down where I live. So in the Bay Area, it is really hard to live on a single income if you have a family. I have a family of four. I have four kids, and I have a decent job as an educator, and I think um, I get paid pretty well. But I heard stories around the United States that some districts are pretty terrible and they don't pay their educators very well. And I'm sorry for that. And they have to do two different jobs to kind of make ends meet. I'm not like that. They pay really well here. And I think I've been doing well for myself. And in my mind, I could think about, oh, in a possibility in the future, I could save enough money to get a house. That's a long time away. But my wife and I decided that we would be generous with our money and use our money for experiences now for our children and think of purchasing house later in life. Will give us more time to save. Well, later in life, as and when our children are old enough and are getting out of the house, then we could go ahead and look to buy as we are slowly building our capital. But in the interim, we always had this idea that hospitality and generosity is a big deal. And so when I'm doing ministry, we have a line item for our 10%. So if I'm making $100,000 a year, um, 10%, 10% of 100, 10% tithing. Is that what it is? 15%? Whatever it is. Say like I take 1% of 100 is is 1,000. So I have about 10,000. So if I'm making $100,000 a year and 10% tithing, 10,000 of it is going to God. Part of that goes to my local church that I'm going to, and the other part of it is just for ministry stuff. So we have a line item. So when I do ministry stuff, um, so if I have people coming over for do small group, then I could purchase like food and stuff like that, and resources and everything to do that. If I'm doing a one-on-one discipleship thing, every so often I could go to like Starbucks or take them out to dinner and stuff like that because I'll use that money for that. So we use money for ministry purposes, things we do for ministry, small groups, discipleship, things like that. We also use part of the money to send to different children around the world, like in Ethiopia. I think we have a couple of kids that we fund to get them to college and stuff like that. So we're using our money generously, freely giving in that money. Okay. So freely giving doesn't necessarily mean uh, frivolous giving. So we have we have a specific budget. Like every month, we know how much we're spending specifically for our bills. We know how much money we're spending for gas every month and how much we give for groceries and stuff like that. And it's really expensive and we're pretty tight. We're pretty tight, but we're not hoarding, so to say, like I keep this close to yeah, there is that tension because we do want to save and buy a house in the future. But at the same time, we do want to be giving and be free with our money so that we could go ahead and bless other people. So I feel like leaning towards the blessing is blessing other people is is more in line with what God wants us to do. And I believe that if God wants to bless us with finances to get a house and stuff like that, that's totally great and stuff like that. Since I'm on a salary, we already know how much I'm going to make. The the wild cards or the extra would be like if I put in extra hours. The only way I put in extra hours is if I substitute another class, get a leadership position, which causes me to a couple extra hours each month to go ahead or each week to kind of work on my leadership stuff. Um, like if I'm a department chair or something like that, or I'm doing a specific extra activity where I'm leading a group or something. Those things give me a little extra money. Another thing would be like changing my job into an admin position. So those are ways in which I could earn money. But generally speaking, I already know what I get each month, and we could have a pretty much good expectation of what I'm earning. Uh, the wild card is my wife. or works hourly, and so she gets, "Oh, I'm gonna put in an extra hour here, extra hour there," so she can make a certain amount of money to offset extra costs and stuff like that. Because it is hard. Rent, we pay rent, looking to buy, and that's kind of like the American dream that we could own a house and stuff like that. So I could see how there's this tension, like, oh, I want to save, I want to save, I want to save. I can't spend money and all like that in pinch pennies, but I feel like um generosity, leaning towards generosity with a little bit of saving is there's a sweet spot there because I want to make sure that my children get good experiences, um, as in they're eating well, um, investing in resources like books and novels and stuff like that's because I want them to be well read. Experiences as in we go on vacation each year. And I think we could save a couple $1,000s each year if we just don't go on vacation. But I want them to see the world. And so going out and visiting family and friends and getting out of our area in my place that I'm living right now is a positive thing. And so that's what I feel like giving freely is. And then I have that buffer on ministry funds. If someone is in need, I could go ahead and just give to them if they needed some money and stuff like that. With prayer and talking to my wife about that. No, I won't go ahead and sign away loans for people. Only my family is the ones I would go for that because I talked about that before. But within the means that I have, I could give freely. So that's why it's so important to have a budget so that you feel more comfortable with giving freely. Because you want to give to the point where it doesn't hurt you. And so having that 10% um, tithe to go ahead tithing or the ministry money allows you to be giving a little bit more and stuff like that. If I made extra money, then we could decide, like, say, like I made another $1,000 one month because I worked a couple of days substituting. And I go, oh, I have another extra $1,000. We could put that aside. Well, we could use the 900 of it to go ahead and just regular, just put it into our general fund and allocate it to the different uh, itemized lines, budget lines, and then $100 I could just put away to our ministry stuff, which is for anything related to ministry or expenses. We also have a budget line for emergencies. So if there are emergencies like a car breaks down, we need a fix or all those kind of things. If I lose a job and I need a month's rent, I do have that. So again, that's because we've been, especially with my wife, we've been really focusing on budgeting well. Um, and I think that's a good thing. It allows me to live freely, not to pinch pennies, have that extra levels to go ahead and do things. Anyways, but I could say that someone who withholds money, holds giving, they're always going to suffer want. And a really good example is the house that I'm living in. There is an owner that we pay into, and they do it differently. I didn't know this until like as I started renting, is that the owner of the house gives the management of the house to a company. And that company has, I guess they have a directive that, and we sign a contract for that, for what a list of things that we're responsible for taking care of the house and what they're responsible for taking care of the house. And one of the main things that we had to do was like, in one of our houses that we were renting in was the roof leaked. And I was like, whoa. And so I know that, oh, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. How much generally does it cost to retile, re, to redo the roof of a house in California? So I don't know. I'm thinking tens of thousands. Oh, here it is. 8,000 to $25,000. So I have to have that on the side. But that, you know what that is? That is the responsibility of the owner. The other thing that happened was The other thing that happened in our house, this current house, was the piping got all messed up. Now, there had to be kind of like we went back and forth on what we put in there, and so the biggest thing they said was, "Oh, if you put in baby wipes in there, it clogs." So we didn't put baby wipes in there, and the what is it called? There's that piping that's on the outside of the house that kind of get. Oh, anyways, it was booing out poop and everything. It was gross. Actually, thinking about it, making me feel sick. I have a vivid imagination and I get grossed out pretty easily. My wife went out there and shoveled that poo. I was going to say other words, but no. And if the owner withheld his money and did not want to fix it, it would have been an infringement of the contract because the piping wasn't our fault. And what they found was, I think they had to do repipe it. They'd go in there and kind of repipe a little bit. And um, what's that thing called? Or plumbing? What is that pipe called that lets plumbers get into the pipes? It's like clean out or something. Not pipe, not a pipe stack. It's not a pipe stack, not a vent. Um, it's called something else. Called something else. Clean out? Called something else. Sewer pipe drainage system. Okay, whatever. Called a vent stack. Clogs. Okay. I thought there was another name for that. Whatever. I'll remember. There is an actual name for it, whatever. And so I think if he just did a regular kind of um let's just get in that little pipe thing and kind of clog it out. What happened was there's roots that are getting into it. So he has to, because there's I guess there's also some cracks in it or something. He had to get in there and kind of like really fix it up. And the out the easy out, the vent. Okay, the vents. They had to redo the vents and everything. And so they did went in there, dug up. Did they dig up a little bit? I forgot what they did. Whatever they did, they kind of fixed it up. But I I didn't have to pay for that. I didn't have to pay for that at all. That was his job. And I feel like and for another thing, like in the backyard, it was totally messed up. There's stairs, like we would open up the back screen door, and there used to be this wooden kind of steps. It was falling apart. So they got rid of the so we broke down the wooden steps and all they had left were these little steps that kind of went down, which was fine. But it led into like a dirt path. So I was like, man, we need an area, like a porch area, like something with concrete instead of like dirt. Because it was kind of when it rained and stuff like that, it was kind of messy and stuff like that. You couldn't even go back there. So I had my dad and my father-in-law in there, and we brought in the cement and everything, and we cemented an area that was pretty sizable. I forgot the size of it. I gotta look back there and check, but it was like 8 by 10 or something like that. Just the flooring 8 by 10. I think it's a little bigger than that, but it was big enough so that um we have a space that we could put down chairs and kind of sit around and just enjoy the backyard without being in the mud. I always think about having making a deck and stuff like that, but I think that's pretty expensive. So we just bought the cement and everything and kind of did mixing. Mixing cement is good. It's just manpower. You just buy the cement, and since we used concrete before, we're using it like smoothing it out. And it was really good. And one of the things is that if you are an owner of a house, and I can see in this time that you only want to just take in the money and take the rent every month and just kind of you're making income off of it. But you have to upkeep the house to keep it going because if you don't upgrade the house, it's going to go into disrepair and the value goes down. And what you do is if you invest in the house, the value goes up. And it makes sense if you're taking care of the house as an owner. Um, and the people, the tenants are like seeing that you're taking care of the house and making upgrades and all that kind of stuff. The tenants would be more than happy to go ahead and pay the rent. But if you raise the rent and not didn't do anything to improve the house, what's the purpose of raising the rent? You're raising the rent just to raise the rent. So don't withhold what you should be doing. Um, so we did get in, like, our stove wasn't working, so they got us a new stove. Um, we also had a couple of dishwashers and stuff like that, which actually I think they should spend a lot of money on dishwashers. Those are big things. Water heater, and nothing wrong with the water heater, but everything else is fine. Again, this is an older house, so they added in an air conditioning unit, so the house wasn't actually made for air conditioning. So the airflow of the heat doesn't and coldness doesn't equally distribute around the house. But you know what? At least it's able to cool the house down on hot days and warm the house up in cold days. So, but if you did not take care of the house would basically get into disrepair and be terrible. It'd be like you'd have to, in the end, you'd want it kind of refixed, like the roof, piping. Like, seriously, the sewage system at my brother's place, which he owns, well, the family owns, like it got a burst, it like blew up, and they had to go in there, and the owner had to spend 25, like, that was my dad. My dad, my dad, father-in-law, had to spend $25,000 to repipe the sewage underneath it. Um, and those are the responsibilities you have as an owner is the sewage, the major appliances, not the refrigerator. Refrigerator is all this, but the major appliances, piping, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that you have to take care of that stuff, and um the roof structure of the house, all those kind of things. The owner has to deal with that. Anyways, but if you kind of hoard it and not take care of those things, it's bad. Same thing in businesses. Like, you need to invest in your employees, training them and giving them a very decent wage, treat them well, which will allow them to want to stay longer and be loyal. So you don't have big turnovers and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not a big businessman, but I feel like there's something beneficial about taking care of your employees. Same thing in the school district. Like, you need to take care of your teachers. If the administration's taking care of their teachers, listening to the teachers, helping them be better teachers and everything like that, and helping to create an environment that's conducive to teaching, yeah, the teachers love it. And backed up with a really good salary, dude, teachers will stay there forever and want to be really loyal to the district and stuff like that. So there, you can't withhold your money in a business for yourself. You have to be generous and do good for the people that are working for you. That's all I have to say about that. Maybe I should have been a businessman. I don't know. Was that in me, Lord? Was this one thing that I could have done? Could I have been an owner, a business owner, and get into business and all that kind of stuff? I don't know. Maybe in another life. Whatever the case, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the talk and keep on moving forward, everybody. The journey is long, the journey is ups and downs, but it is a journey that you're on. Do the best that you can. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.